50,000 people used to live here. Now it's a ghost town.
U.S. Marines stationed on high alert were given the order to invade the small...
Hello there, welcome to my channel. I'm Occo, and today we're diving into the history of one of the most iconic games in the first-person shooter genre, Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare. Released in 2007, this groundbreaking title took the franchise out of its World War II roots and thrust players into the chaotic battlegrounds of modern conflict. It not only revolutionized the Call of Duty series, but also left a lasting impact on the gaming industry as a whole. The first part of this video will be a short background on the game as a whole, before I dive into Promod and the competitive aspect of the game. So grab your M4s and RPGs and let's rocket jump into the history of Call of Duty 4. Before Modern Warfare, or Cod4 as most people abbreviate it, the Call of Duty series was primarily set during World War II. However, with the gaming industry evolving, Infinity Ward recognized the need for a new, fresh approach. With the release of Call of Duty 4, the developers at Infinity Ward decided to shift gears and bring the franchise into the modern era. This decision marked a significant departure from the norm, providing players with a fresh new experience. Not at all uncommon or exciting by today's standards, where we have so many new Call of Duties set not only in the modern times, but in the future as well. I've been told I haven't actually played them, to be honest.
Вы все равно скоро сдохнете.
The announcement trailer showcased the shift to modern times, teasing high-tech weaponry and urban warfare. I don't remember seeing it as a kid, but I bet it really appealed to me after spending a lot of time on Call of Duty 1 and 2, which are amazing games in their own right. Call of Duty 4's nostalgic single-player campaign takes place in fictional countries in the Middle East, revolving around a political coup and the rise of a radical ultra-nationalist faction in Russia. You navigate through a very action-packed narrative involving political intrigue and a deadly nuclear threat. The latter refers to one of the most memorable moments in gaming for me, showing my all-too-young mind the potential horrors that humans can create in the real world, but through a fictional art form. The storytelling in Call of Duty 4 was praised for its intensity and realism, making you feel like you were playing a part in a war movie.
Our so-called leaders prostituted us to the West, destroyed our culture, our economies, our honor.
Memorable missions like All Gillied Up and Shock and Awe showcase the diverse and intense nature of the game's campaign, offering a mix of stealth and explosive set pieces. As a huge stealth game fan, All Gillied Up has always been and still is my favorite mission. Just prowling around with ghillie suits, taking out targets surrounded by radiation from the Chernobyl disaster, it was amazingly intense and also made me really interested in learning more about Chernobyl. Modern Warfare introduced us to memorable characters, including the charismatic and legendary Captain Price with his iconic boonie hat and cigar, as well as the player-controlled Soap McTavish. These characters became fan favorites and their exploits laid the foundation for future Call of Duty titles. Captain Price actually showed up all the way back in the first Call of Duty and made an appearance in Call of Duty 2 as well. I don't fully understand the lore on that, but I think we can all come to the same conclusion based on factual evidence that Captain John Price is probably, most certainly, a vampire. Today, Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare stands as a landmark title in the gaming world. Its gripping narrative, revolutionary multiplayer, and cultural impact has left a significant mark on the industry, shaping the future of first-person shooters for years to come. The legacy of Modern Warfare lives on, reminding us that sometimes, to move forward, you must break away from the past. But for the remainder of this video, we're gonna do the exact opposite of that when I look back at Call of Duty 4 from a more personal point of view, including Cod4 Promod and its esports scene. So, I just want to explain what is Promod. So Call of Duty 4 Promod, short for Professional Modification, is a community-developed modification for the multiplayer aspect of Call of Duty 4, and it was created with the primary goal of enhancing the competitive multiplayer experience by introducing various changes and improvements. So Call of Duty 4 Promod originated from essentially the desire of competitive players and modders to create a more balanced and refined multiplayer experience in the game. The standard multiplayer of the game, while enjoyable, may not be perfectly tuned for competitive play, and Promod aimed to address this by making specific modifications, including changes to mechanics to create a more competitive and balanced environment. Weapon balance was a key focus, ensuring that no single weapon dominated the gameplay, and that players had a variety of viable options. That wasn't really the case, but sort of when it comes to weapon classes. Certain perks, which are special abilities or enhancements for your character, they were removed or modified to prevent any perk from providing an unfair advantage, or to remove the ones that were just stupid silly. So in summary, Call of Duty 4 Promod is just a modification that tailors to the multiplayer experience of Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare to the needs of competitive players, introducing changes to create a more balanced and refined competitive environment. There was a precursor to Promod called Promod, which was sort of the first iteration of this, what would later become Promod. Now, I'm just going to talk a little freeform about my experience and my journey through Call of Duty 4 Promod and its community. So I started in 2011. I had played the normal version of Call of Duty 4 before that because my brother bought it in 2007, I believe, when it released. And I played on his computer because we only had one, so I played whatever he played. And he used to play with some people that went on to become professionals, like some of the best players in the game, including Climaxu and Miracle. So I had no idea what it was before he introduced it to me, and he had a frag movie on his computer called Renara Zero. And I saw that and it was just fascinating. And I saw him playing, and I remember because it was a mod, they removed all the levels because you didn't need levels when you were competing. So I was like, what is this? Why don't you have any levels? And I was at that level. And then in 2011 I joined a clan called Drunken Bastards, which were a bunch of Finnish people, all adults, and I was like 13 or 14. But they let me use the sniper rifle, and you can only use one sniper rifle per team. So it's a 5 versus 5 search and destroy. One team plants the bomb, the other team tries to defuse it or prevent them from doing it. And then, best of 24, whoever wins, wins. And I got the sniper, and ever since then, I just became a dedicated scope to most teams I played with, and I got pretty good at it. So eventually I got, surpassed them in skill levels, so I moved on, and that's when my brother, showed me the website called tech9.org. So Tech9 was the gathering point for all professional and competitive players. And that's where you found teams, you saw announcements, everything. And anyone who played Call of Duty 4 Promod was on tech9.org. And it was on Tech9 that I found new teammates that I played with pretty much throughout my whole, gaming career, if you want to call it that, in Call of Duty 4 throughout the years. So we got really good together, and there were some players, some professional players, famous Call of Duty 4 competitors that I sort of looked up to and gave me inspiration, and I learned a lot from. The ones that come to mind are Fantasy, who made some incredibly good content. He taught me about maps and how the game works in general, and then he was one of the best players in the game, just in general. We also have Climaxu that my brother played with, and he has, probably in my opinion, the best frag movie out there. Overused. Check it out. So they taught me a lot about the game, and then we also have, of course, the legendary Stevie. So a lot of you, if you're into Call of Duty 4 or Call of Duty in general, you've probably seen Stevie. 9 Lives is one of the best frag movies made, just in general. So yeah, those were people that I sort of, looked up to and liked to play as, but I never really got to that level. In the later years, maybe I could have, but by then, the scene had died down. There were no real LAN tournaments or any real online tournaments either, even though I competed in some. Some of my best and most enjoyable times in gaming was in Call of Duty 4. I mean, I played it from 2011 to 2019 on and off, and I haven't touched the game in a couple of years now. I'm sure there are still players playing, but I put that cup down, so I do have some really memorable moments, like that one time I did an insane just no-scope reaction clip that got a lot of attention for me at the time, and that's what sparked a bust video on me cheating. So the best compliment I could ever get when I was playing this game was being accused of cheating, because I thought, thank you. You think I'm that good that I can, the only possible way must be I'm cheating, you know? That's a big ego boost. And also the fun things were always when a team was losing against you and they called you lows, which meant, you know, noobs, beginners, they were like insulting you for your skill. It always made me scratch my head and laugh, because, you know, if you're losing 13-1, then what are you if you call me a noob? Like, what? It's just hilarious to think about that mentality. So yeah, tech9.org in general had a lot of toxicity to it and a lot of elitism. I remember, you know, people didn't really like to admit that others were better than them. And I learned a lot from playing Call of Duty 4, you know, competitive, because you got a lot of those people and you learn to deal with it. And nowadays it doesn't faze me at all. Whenever you get hate, someone accused me of cheating, I'd no longer go try to like convince them. I just laugh and say thank you, you know. So I learned a lot about how to handle people online after playing Call of Duty 4. And people like to talk about League of Legends being toxic. You should have been on tech9.org back in the days. There were a lot of great people, obviously, but I remembered the toxicity a lot as well. You know, looking back at it, Call of Duty players were so good. Like, Promod players were some of the most talented gamers ever, but too ahead of their time, because esports wasn't big at all back in the days. And it was just too small for them to really shine and show everyone, you know? And it's a shame, because nowadays esports is so big, and I feel like those players could have just been something else. Because I feel like I watch some players today, like Shroud, do plays that like pretty much everyone in Promod used to do, and everyone's so amazed. And I'm like, that's a Promod player, you know? It's it would have been nice to see today. And I remember the shoutcasters back in the day, like Pansy and Machine, just sitting in their bedroom shoutcasting this tiny game that no one knew about. And nowadays they're on the big screen, you know, they're up on the stage with like Counter-Strike or whatnot. It's just crazy. It's crazy to see. I wonder how they look back at Call of Duty 4 now. This was a different video from what I usually make. I just thought I'd try something new. Hopefully it was entertaining. I had fun doing it, so hopefully you have fun watching it. I'll think about making more videos of, you know, in this format. So give me any feedback, you know, let me know what you like, what you didn't like. Thanks for watching. See you all later. Bye-bye.